Welcome back. Today, February 11th, marks the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. It's a day where we celebrate the trailblazers who are breaking barriers in fields once dominated by just men, especially in the high-stakes world of space technology. Well, joining us today is a woman who literally oversees mission control for Malaysia's satellite operations. With nearly 17 years of experience, she now leads MEASAT's Tier 1 network operations, managing a 24/7 team responsible for the health and service restoration of our entire satellite fleet. She is SITI AMINAH OTHMAN, the Assistant Manager for the Network Management Center at MEASAT. Hi AMINAH, it's good to have you with us. First of all, hats off to you and kudos for being a trailblazer in this industry or this sector. I want to thank you for joining us here today and really highlighting the very important and imperative role women play in the science realm or in the area of science moving forward. Now, there is something known as the HTS. That's the High Throughput Satellite Technology. That's been known to be a game changer for the future of Malaysia's digital infrastructure. Give us a better understanding what this is.
So when we talk about a high throughput satellite itself in satellite architecture, it's actually referring to a multiple spot beams instead of a traditional satellite with wide beam coverage. So this is what we had implemented in our latest satellite, which is MEASAT 3D, where we had actually introduced a high precision spot beam technology. So in layman terms, think of a satellite as if it's your giant torchlight pointing towards Earth. And when a torchlight is directed on the wall itself, the light will be more concentrated in the center area, and we can see that the rings of the lights clearly changes whenever you move further away from the wall, while still maintaining the position of and the direction of the torchlights. So the light will then spread thin and dimmer on the outer rings when you move further away. Similarly for HTS, it consists of multiple torchlights with actually a higher signal strength covering the same areas. Indirectly, you can have a multiple areas with more stronger signal coverage apart from one single wide beam. For a satellite signal, the more concentrated signal strengths will later translate to the speed of the service itself, hence increase the service efficiency, making it a viable alternative compared to a fiber in areas where it's geographically challenging.
Right, and based on that, ultimately the satellite keeps us all in touch with one another, gives us that ability to connect and network from that perspective. But from an engineering perspective, Aminah, how is MEASAT's latest technology effectively helping, as you just mentioned as well, to reach those rural areas, to solve what is known as the last mile connectivity issues, especially to reach out to remote communities at the far ends of Malaysia?
Okay, at MEASAT, we believe that the remote should not mean disconnected. We had solved the last mile challenge by treating connectivity as one of the fundamentals of human rights. And through our Connect Me initiative, we have actually pioneered what we call a digital village model that can be deployed in days, not years as any other infrastructures. And the recent rollout of our Sihat Express kiosk in Kampung Bono and Kampung Manikulau, which actually uses our satellite backhaul to provide remote clinical consultations and also health monitoring, which consists of a blood pressure check, blood sugar level, maternity checks, children's or infants consultations. So just imagine for a mother in the rural areas of Sabah, our HTS technology isn't just a tag anymore. It's a real video link to a specialist doctor. So in other words, it had effectively turning connectivity into a life-saving utility.
Right, and you know, there's so much technology out there. Every country is doing something and spearheading some effort or the other when it comes to, the orbit and outer space. But with modern satellite engineering, how does it really benefit the rakyat when it comes to critical areas? We're looking at things like national security and the very precise area of Earth observation.
Okay, there are a lot of applications that can benefit rakyat actually in a satellite communication. Some of it that I can quote would be, the first one would be disaster management. That one I categorize into two segments. The first one would be live telecast update. So this is similar like your news crossover, whereby you need a continuous update of the event or incident itself, which is an important service, especially when the facility, for example, is a power or fiber connectivity or communication tower within the compound vicinity of the area, which could have fully or partially damaged due to the natural disaster itself. It can be a flood, it can be a fire, or even landslide. So a clear example was back in 2022, where we had a Batangkali landslide incident covering a campsite area. So basically, the team had been rapidly deployed on site to provide communication links needed for SAR missions, search and rescue missions, when other networks were actually down during that particular time. And the second segment of the disaster management would be more focused on controlling the risk of the natural disaster itself by having a real-time monitoring. For example, like river water level for flood monitoring, which can also include some forecasting prediction data based on the existing data that we have. And beyond emergencies, our satellite technology actually supports everyday's national interests, from maritime monitoring to combating illegal fishing or to even safeguarding our food security by monitoring the health of our paddy fields. So in essence, MEASAT provide a critical layer of connectivity that actually expands the coverage throughout the entire country to places that the terrestrial networks simply cannot reach.
Well, now help us break this down, because in terms of infrastructure, satellite and the cost around the engineering of it as well is of course high. How are current engineering innovations helping to drive down costs that can help make high-speed connectivity for us here on Earth more affordable, especially for all Malaysians?
Okay, 10 years back, actually satellite service were considered a luxury. In today's, technology has been evolved rapidly in such a way that we no longer need bulky or expensive equipment to even stay connected. We have moved away from all the specialized complex decoders towards a simplest integration with mobile apps and Wi-Fi hotspots. So with higher capacity of MEASAT 3D, we have actually achieved a much better economies of scales, in which by concentrating the signals itself through our spot beams technology, we have reduced the cost per bit, which then allows to offer a high-speed service at a price point that is truly accessible to the community. And as the hardware becomes smaller, the capacity becomes larger. So satellite is currently becoming a highly competitive and quite an affordable choice option for every Malaysian, I would say.
Well, you of course, Aminah, a woman in engineering, and particularly this exclusive and unique space in a field with zero margin for error. How does gender diversity in engineering teams lead to better problem solving and innovation?
For me, the common practice to achieve zero margin error actually, you need to have a rigorous testing or simulation with different real case or even worst case scenarios that can be actually pre-planned in prior. Just imagine once a satellite is launched to 36,000 kilometers up there, you can't go to fix a loose screw, right? So for women itself, luckily most of us can actually handle multitask item, and that's a great advantage to the industry. And in satellite engineering, for the test that I mentioned earlier, you're not only seeing at one variable, but you need to have a balance between the variables to achieve the desired optimum results. So women mostly quite an attention to detail oriented, and having someone that can actually notice one small detail which doesn't fit the pattern can be a huge difference between a successful mission or even a total loss. So for me, we need more women, especially in the engineering leadership industry, to handle the complexity of modern technology while actually optimizing the team's brain power.
It's a great day to celebrate the superpowers that women and girls have. In terms of Malaysia's STEM pipeline, are we ready for the global space economy? And what is your advice for young girls aspiring to lead in this frontier?
Okay, actually Malaysia have a high rate of female STEM graduates. Facility-wise, I think the pipeline is generally ready. And the number of qualified graduates also entering the technical field show that the capability is already there. And I think the challenge here is more on retaining the talent for senior leadership and the technical role, in which the woman itself need to have a good support system, either in a family institution or in a workplace environment. So my advice for the young girls out there is to be resilient. And the space industry is incredibly dynamic, and success often comes from multiple iterative failures before you can actually reach your target. So don't easily give up and don't be afraid of the complexity. And if you have the passion for solving problems that will generally impact millions of lives, then there is a seat for you at the table in a global space economy.
And a great reminder as well for women and girls all across the globe, especially for us as we speak in Malaysian context here. There's no limit what we can do and what we can achieve. Siti Aminah, thank you very much for joining us and for highlighting this unique space and what is being done, as well as the latest technology being applied up there in orbit. We'll speak to you soon. Well, I'll be back with more global updates. You're watching The World right here on Bernama TV. Stay tuned.